Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from gundamreviews.net, and it's Sunday night, and I really can't believe that it's already here, but I'm talking about the end of Age 2, so it's time to put out all the old 1/100ths before they get joined by the new gang with the form of the Master Grade Sparrow in the Age 3 GB coming up shortly. So on to my of the weeks, kicking things off with characters, and for those of you that have seen the episode already, you may be saying, what are you doing with these two up there? I'm talking about Grudek and Wolf Eniakel, two people that have died over the course near the end of the second generation here. And I have to say that even though they weren't in the episode, I think that their influence was more than enough to get them some consideration here, especially with Grudek. One of the big things about his death is it was a great death scene and it was really set up well in the first generation. You could see it coming from a mile away. And yet, outside of Flit's big no, we didn't really see any of the ramifications after. However, here with the flashback, we got to see one more grin from him, and more importantly, the old send on the BlackBerry, as he was able to send Flit all the information that he needed to pull off the coup that he did. More importantly, in terms of Wolf, I thought he was a fantastic influence, both on a young Flit in the first generation, but that we've talked about before, but it's the Asim effect here. And it was just great to see at the beginning. There was another time skip here, a year. I wonder how many times we had. That's 2-3 times already in the second generation. More importantly, Asim was dressed like Wolf. Not to mention something else that was big, but you could just see how calm and mature he was. He knew what he was fighting for. There were people that he wanted to protect. He wasn't able to protect Wolf, even though Wolf protected him. But you could just see that Asim became the kind of protagonist that everybody wants him to become. And it was all thanks to this man. And of course, Flit becoming the kind of person that he is, win at all costs and do whatever it takes. You can see all that influence from the old captain himself, Captain Grudek. And somebody that you have to talk about here is Flit Asino, he of the cool green facial hair here in the second generation, the commander, who seems like he's taking on a bit more of a role here anyway. First of all, at the beginning of the episode, after the 1-year time skip where they're down on Earth, it was cool to see him and Asim. They didn't have a lot of time. We haven't seen how their relationship has changed, but you could tell, I suppose, with Asim's improved maturity levels there, that he's just able to deal with his father better. And of course, he's being trusted completely by his father to be sent off on a very, very important mission. However, unlike Gundam protagonists in the past where we have people caught in the middle of war, realizing that war is really tough and that it's just not, and that there's not really a good guy, bad guy kind of dynamic there, we still have Flit saying things that I don't think we've ever heard a Gundam protagonist say, and I wonder if he's going to calm down in the third generation, and what effect age is going to have on him. And seriously, I kept waiting for this shoe to drop too. But no, COW has to go to the man himself, the man who's kept this whole second generation going. We've been interested in Flit and seeing what things happen. We didn't see anything with Emily or things like that. But at the end of the day, we had a new protagonist and we got to see a pretty good character arc over the last 13 or so episodes. I do wonder if he just feels like he's gotten a little bit of a short shift here compared to what Flit got in the beginning. He just seemed to be getting a few extra episodes on his generation, whereas Asim seems to be cut off a little bit short. But in the end, we saw him become the protagonist that we want to be, and I can't wait to see what's going to be happening with him in the third generation. Mobile Suit of the Week, we did get to see the Dorado, a couple of those involved in the Vegan remnants fighting down on Earth as part of their conspiracy. But at the end of the day, the coolest mobile suit that we got to see was Xanto, or whoever's in charge. He's always been Zahart. I think he was the commander before Zahart took over. He ended up fighting in a very cool look. Well, it's one of those so ugly it's cool in a way kind of mobile suits. I'm sure that you've seen pictures or you already saw it in the video. Wolverine claws, and even better, a tail that he can use with a Shiguru blade or something like that, similar to what the Sparrow has. He used it incredibly well, but even though I thought with the Adidas stripe going up and down on his face that he looked pretty ugly, it's the kind of thing where he just moved so incredibly well that that's got to be way up there in terms of MS of the Week. However, even Japanese Wikipedia and the official age site is not updated with its name, so if somebody knows, please tell me with a comment down below. But for Mobile Suit of the Week, is there anything that summed up Asim's new maturity and fighting for the people that he needs to protect better than seeing the Age 2 normal, and it was the Age 2 normal, in all white, painted up in Wolf's colors? Never mind having the old school uniform on, this was probably the best part of the episode for me. And how cool was it right at the beginning when he runs into a ground-based, obviously close combat melee-style opponent, and what's the first thing he does? Throw down his beam rifle and just take out one beam saber, because that's all he needs as super pilot Asim Asino. And this is the kind of thing where all I wanted to say when I saw this kit, both in the teaser last week, but especially seeing it in action here, was stick it in my veins. Bandai, sell this to me in white and AG, HG, MG. And yes, you're going to be getting double the money for the same mold. All you got to do is pump in some white plastic instead. Scene of the week, well, it sort of bears some reflection that if you think about just how much Flit's life has been affected by the Vegans, from his mother to his colony to now the effects on his son, never mind his girlfriend in between, and you just have to wonder, when his eyes opened wide and he said what he'd like to do with all of the Vegans, that's the kind of thing that just sets up a very, very interesting conclusion that we're going to have to see how it plays out over the third generation. But alas for me, scene of the week, how about at the end where the Vegans go to clean up the mess in their informer in the form of the president, who I should have mentioned was overthrown in a coup d'etat, thanks to Flit, thanks to the information that Grudek was able to send him. More importantly, he's got a red laser sight on his head. He's about to be destroyed by Xanto in his, whatever it's called, mobile suit. And there's Flit, cool as a cucumber, because he now has obviously faith in his son. And there it is. The white H2 normal shows up, and all of a sudden, this is worth dual-wielding for, says Asim as he pulls out the two blades. And yes, Wolfang style, there it is, an X across his chest, as Zant does get one moment of goodness that he gets to see the Earth. But in the end, seeing the white H2 cut through a bad guy in an X style just made me want to say that when the H1, 2, and 3 show up in the next Gundam vs. Gundam vs. Gundam in the future, that has got to be one of his main moves, or I'm going to be quite upset. My only real disappointment about this episode is in the end credits when Asim's running through the tunnel to his MS of the week, they ended up showing the double bullet instead of showing the white H2 normal as they should have. And just like that, I could not believe that the second generation was going to be over. We see Flit overthrowing the corrupt president and then executing a political purge and getting rid of all sorts of the bad guys. Good action in between, not a lot of time for anything other than the plot to advance. We didn't get to see much of the interaction between father and son, but what little we did show that their relationship has strengthened. And Asim just being the cool protagonist that everybody I'm sure wanted him to be, and the best of Garadran by the end of the thing. And what, he's only had 12-13 episodes to get there. Overall, I can't help but feel that the second generation was a little bit short. The Flit one, I kept thinking that it was going to end around episode 13, and it kept going. Wasn't a bad thing because we did get a very good climax to that. However, it looks like Kyo is going to have lots of time to shine in terms of just being a regular protagonist for almost half a year. So that's certainly going to be a little bit more normal. I wonder if we are going to have 4 theme songs or if they'll just stick with the 3 through it all. But overall, there's lots to reflect upon for Asim's time here. It was interesting to see the use of the time skips because we got to see a little bit more of the 100 years in between. But overall, he still seems like the same kind of kid he was back in school. And what is going to be his fate? We've already seen from the previews that we're going to have an old man Flit showing up. Obviously either to hand off the keys to the H3 or something like that to Kyo in the next episode. But what's going to happen to him? Is he going to disappear and just show up as a white angel when needed? Could something else happen? I did wonder if he was going to get knocked off on the way to the third generation. But the end of the episode and the big wedding scene certainly put an end to any of that talk. Never mind the fact that Kyo wasn't going to be his son, as I had been speculating earlier. Anyway, everybody, why don't you let me know what you thought of this episode, the second generation, and stuff like that. Lots to talk about with a comment down below, and of course, stay tuned. Next Sunday, can't wait to see the H3 debut, Kyo. Is he going to be a Kira Yamato and a very calm one after we see Flit, who seems to be able to do anything that it takes to win, and Asim, who's now become a cool level head thanks to Wolf. Anyway, I just wonder if Kyo is going to sort of take things back to a more whiny kind of protagonist. Anyway, I hope it doesn't happen, but I guess we're going to have 2 protagonists hanging around, or at least one of them, to help things out if things do get a little bit too emo. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Let me know yours with a comment down below, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. And congratulations, you two. And nice tux there, Asim.